Hmm? Ah! Oh.
Oh, you're bleeding.
Oh.
No, you better come back to my place.
What?
I'm only a few minutes away. I've got plasters for that arm, and I might even fix your jacket for you. But after that, you're on your own. Come on.
Welcome, panelers and Podcastica listeners. Welcome to the show. I'm Jayme.
And I'm Mark.
And this is a spoiler-full podcast covering Sandman Season 2, Episode 12, the bonus episode, Death, the High Cost of Living. This is a collaborative podcast along with Podcastica Network. So this podcast will be available for both Panels to Pixels podcast and Podcastica feeds, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Yes, and we are covering Season 2, Episode 12, as they call it on Netflix, Death, the High Cost of Living. And the synopsis for that particular episode is: a journalist overwhelmed by hopelessness has a life-altering 24 hours after crossing paths with death on her day off. So with that, we're going to move right along into initial thoughts. So Jayme, do you have any overall thoughts of the episode? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Are you in between about it? Or are you a little bit kind of like in the middle because of the comic book version and the Netflix version?
I mean, there were definitely some obvious changes between the comic and this one.
Okay.
But the overall heart of it was the same. They've made a lot of, from the beginning, they've aged Death up, so therefore they had to age Sexton up. Mm-hmm. And with aging him up changes some of the minor details. Like Sylvie was his mom, not his girlfriend.
Ooh, okay.
And he was a teenager. So he was living with his mom, who kicked him out because she's a little manic at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And she was doing a deep clean of the apartment and she wanted him out. So it wasn't his roommate was having sex. It was his mom, who's a little manic, kicks him out to do a deep clean. Like, he was allowed to come back later, just like this one. But same thing. Like, he was contemplating suicide. He was writing a suicide note. They just aged things up, changed some minor details. Nothing.
Yeah.
I think they kept the spirit the same. There's a lot of stuff that was beat for beat out of the comic, which was three comics.
3 issues of the series.
That's the right word, issues. Thank you.
Which makes sense too, because it's an ongoing saga. There's a compendium. I do implore anybody who is out there, it is a comic book reader that has never jumped into the world of Sandman. They have the compendiums that are out there. They're very big, thick books, leather bound. They'll cost you a little over $100 each, about $150 each, but they're worth it nonetheless. And you could read it straight through. It's very thick. I only have the first one. I plan on eventually, once I start to purge some stuff, I want to get the second compendium. And I already know Mike Zapsik from Comic Book Men at the Secret Stash in Red Bank, New Jersey, will probably get me a copy and hold one for me. Even though the first one I have is signed by the one NG. And that's how we'll call him now because of certain situations. So, the original creator. But yeah, I highly recommend that you actually read the books, because the books are very different in comparison to some degree with the show itself. So, and you could further along your fantasy or your intrigue of the show with the comics and then go further, because we only get maybe a quarter of the books. Is that right, Jayme, in the show?
They put a lot together in season 2.
Yeah.
Like they
combined a lot. They
combined a lot. They rushed it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of deeper story that things could have gotten into in season 2. But I mean, we hit the important stuff. We hit the high notes. I'm not mad about any of it. But I will say, if you don't feel like buying the big compilations, the trade paperbacks are how I read the story. And if you just want to dip your toe in, there is a trade paperback specifically for Death. It collects a few of the early and late comics of Sandman that revolve around her. And then it puts the 3 high cost of livings in the middle.
Awesome.
So if you want to dip your toe and see if the rest of the comics are for you, this is a good way to just have a small little one trade paperback, which run about brand new $12.
Yeah, about between 12 and $15, depending. You could find them on Amazon. You could go to your local comic book shop.
Yeah, and if you go to your comic book shop and get it used, that's how I got most of mine.
Yeah.
But at your comic book shop used, you can get it as low as a few, $5 or so. But just like this episode's a bottle episode, it's like a bottle issue. So it gives you some earlier comics just to get you to learn who Death is and everything. And then you get her day off, and then you get a little epilogue type of thing. And it's, like I said, if you want to just dip your toe into the comic instead of feeling like you have to dive in feet first to all of it. Also, I believe I gave this warning at the beginning of recording, like season 1. The first few comics are not as good as the rest of the series.
That is true.
They're not a slog to get through or anything, but if somebody's been hyping up Sandman to you, and you start reading like the first 3 books, and you're like,
you'll be it's a snort fest.
You're just like, this is what everybody's been talking about. This is what my friend told me to read. So
yeah,
I would rather, if you're going to start with something, start with if you've watched the show and therefore not spoiled, blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
and even then, the stories that are in there are early enough on that they really don't spoil anything. So. If you want to dip your toe into the comic, I would say this is the Death trade paperback is a great way to start and see if you're gonna like it.
Yeah, I kind of equate it to what our friend Ben Beck always says. I give a show the first 3 episodes to get into before I say yay or nay. Yeah, and if it doesn't really intrigue me after the 3rd one, just ditch it completely. But it's kind of like that with comics too. You have to slowly jump into it. There's a lot of things back in the early to mid 80s when they were transitioning with Marvel with their Dark Horse series and things of that nature, as well as with DC with their other versions like this, that a lot of people are like, what is this? And it's very different. And then the stories didn't really pick up until maybe issue 7 or even 10. And then after that, you're like, well, why did I stop reading this? Because all my friends now are talking about this because they kept up with it because they loved Web of Spider-Man. They loved Hellboy, all these other, these comics that came out and then ran, even with Sandman too, as well. Or The Crow at one point. The Crow came out around that same time, and it just came out of obscurity and just revolutionized everything. And by, of course, the early to mid 90s, we got the Crow movie and made Brandon Lee a household name, and we all can't, the studios can't live up to the original Crow based upon the nostalgia, the history behind it, the comic. And we've already discussed that particular movie in comparison, the remake that they did a year ago. So Lara and I had covered that, which was interesting, to say the least. We kind of summed it up a little bit. But right now we're talking about Sandman. And then within this particular episode, I did enjoy it as a whole, as a story. I did not read the whole issues of Death regarding this, but I did like the story that we got because it sounded to me like, it was Death's day off. And at first I thought, oh no, she happens upon Sexton when he dies. And that's far from the truth, as we know. But the cool thing that I thought in the very beginning, and this is one of my notes, we get an image of Superman on the mug.
Yep.
On
I knew you were going to talk about that.
And then we get a magnet in the junkyard of a Superman on the refrigerator as he's falling.
Yeah. Batman is usually who we see in Sandman in the comics.
Mm-hmm.
He was actually at the funeral, at Morpheus's funeral in the comic. I guess they couldn't get the rights to Batman, so they went with Superman, which is
which is pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
It's a nice nod to the comic itself, but not directly having them there, the character. So I like that, and I really did appreciate that. They did have a book there that I thought it was multiple books of the same story. A book, actually, something that our friend Jared Gomez and I have to actually cover. I'm not sure exactly if we did it on Adrenaline Cinema Podcast, but the book was called The Day of the Triffids.
I am actually not familiar with that book.
Oh, it's about alien plant life that comes down and takes over Earth.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. But apparently he finds a book, but there's various versions of it. So Sexton is finding all these books around him. And he started collecting a lot of them at one point just before Death shows up and helps him on his way. You know, it's like he hurt himself, he got himself. She takes him to her apartment, which is so funny. Now, mind you, she's only how many, like a few hours old or an hour?
I believe she says 3.
Yeah. and then she brings it all up to him about who she is and what she's doing. And I thought it was so sweet because she's so very honest and deadpan about it. And the one thing about Death, and that I do love about this version of Death, it's not dark and gloomy. It's very compassionate, very happy about life and accepting, embracing people at their death's door. And in this case, she just wants to be alive at this point for herself and experience life for that one moment for 24 hours every 100 years. And I thought, wow, this is amazing. And we get to see her enjoying herself and just being spontaneous, embracing life as it is, that a lot of us really do ignore at times. Honestly.
And saving a life.
Yes, she does save a life.
Because
well, actually,
this is
a couple of lives.
I mean, this is more Sexton's story than hers.
Yes, it is.
Which is how she would want it. She's just being human to feel being human. Like when she goes to help him up from, because he has brushes with death through the whole episode, which is on purpose. She has the day off. He was going to die that day if she was on the clock.
That is
several
true.
times.
Yeah.
And it's very subtle, but he realizes it, and he realizes he wants to live by the end of it, which is awesome.
It was a story meant to be of what it was for both her and him, because the story, if you think about it, is both of Sexton and him not killing himself, and then Death experiencing life and helping another person. Actually, 2 people, if you think about it. Mad Hetty.
Yes.
So I thought that was very good.
Yeah, I love Mad Hetty. She's so much fun. And you also feel bad for her losing her daughter.
Yes, and that was the whole point about the locket and everything else. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you were a comic reader, you already kind of had her background, but it was nice for people who watched the show and saw her pop up here and there and then had a big role in the end to actually get her story, because there were little snippets of it throughout the episodes, but now to actually give her a moment to have her full story, to know what was going on, I thought was really cool. It's
nuanced in the sense of them actually giving us like her history. But like you said, they gave us snippets throughout the 2 seasons of who she was. There was a lot of Cockney and a lot of English Cockney in it. A lot of stuff like calling Sexton like Death, saying, "Are you a fly tip?" And I'm not sure still as what a fly tip is. I'm thinking it's a thief.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. That's not one of the British words I'm used to.
Yeah.
And in the comic, it took place in New York City, not in London. So, because Gaiman, most of it took place in New York City because Gaiman lived in New York City, and that was what he wrote about. Plus Gotham, New York.
That is true. So
Yeah.
I just looked it up. So a fly tip or the act of fly tipping is the illegal and unauthorized dumping of waste such as rubbish, large items, or even hazardous materials in an improper location like a public road, field, or waterway.
That makes sense because she found him in a garbage heap.
Exactly. So we got that. So we got that information for you right there. I never knew what that meant. So
Me either.
and
But yeah, like
the more you
when
know.
when she goes to help him, she reaches her hand out and then she pulls her. She's like, "Oh no, wait, I can actually touch someone."
Yeah, that was so weird because it's like
Yeah.
she's so used to at this point they're already dead and she has to guide them on their path. So, and then she had to explain it to her, explain it to Sexton himself.
And he, of course, didn't believe her because who would believe someone saying, "Oh, I'm Death"? Sure, lady. Sure, you are.
Yeah. And the funniest was she calls him a bonny boy, which is a Scottish and Northern English term for handsome or attractive young man.
Yep.
So just to let you guys know that if you're unfamiliar with the terms, we are American. Unfortunately, we are not privy to the British slang that's out there. And I had an idea of what that meant too, because I've watched so many British shows.
Agreed. Yeah, that one I was up on. I just watched Break Off, as a matter of fact, so I can tell you all about soggy bottoms and claggy cakes.
Yep. But I love how Death takes him to her flat and she winds up mending him. He cleans up and he's got a bandage on his hand or his wrist at that point where it got cut, offering him tea biscuits.
Okay. I have to say one thing about the cut on his wrist.
What about it?
Did someone's 5-year-old put on that FX makeup? Because that was terrible.
It didn't show any bleeding if you ever noticed it.
It didn't show any bleeding. It was like an inch high instead of being a gash in. Like I could make something better with toilet paper and Elmer's glue. Usually I don't mind a little bit of bad special effects here and there, but a gash on an arm is something you learn if you're a special effects person, is something you learn to do when you're a child.
That is true.
And that one just stood out as looking terrible.
For somebody's first day.
Yeah. Or last, who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it was just, I don't know. It took me out of it for a second where I was like, oh, that's not well done at all. Okay.
I did love how she was like working with Sexton. They start walking around and she gets that veggie meal. She comes up to the vendor and she gets a free meal. And she goes, surprise me. And he goes for the veggie meals, which she really does enjoy.
But she gets to eat, which is something she doesn't normally get to do. Like she's so excited to eat and experience food. Like I loved it.
To have the feel of taste and eat food, as it were, because these are gods in a sense, and
they're not humans.
They're not humans, so they don't get to feel that. And Sexton is looking at her going, what's wrong with you? Why you've never had anything like this? And he offered her beef, he offered her chicken, and then she went with the veggie, which was great. And she enjoyed it, and it was free of charge.
Yep.
Then they wound up getting a taxi at that point,
which also ends up being free of charge.
Apparently, yeah.
Until Sexton gets mad about it, and then he gets charged.
Yeah.
I like how he was annoyed that she got things for free.
Mm.
I get that. When you're hurting for money, you notice when people get things for free that you're like, what? Why do you deserve it?
Exactly.
She only had 20 pounds and 2 pence?
Yes.
Was on her?
Yep. That's all she had. And I love how it just reminds me, all right, the story of doing things like this for free. Everything in life is free. Do you remember the movie Loser?
No.
From the early 2000s? Had the two people from American Pie in it. The one who had sexual orientations with a pie.
Jason Biggs, right?
Jason Biggs. And then you had the other one who was the choir girl.
Our band camp.
Choir. No, she was choir girl. She was the one that was interested with the other guy that was tall and did lacrosse. But anyhow, in that
okay.
Yeah, in that particular movie, she shows Jason Biggs, her character shows Jason Biggs how to do things in New York City without ever having to pay anything at all. And it kind of reminded me of that story. So if you guys want to look for, it's called Loser, and it came out in
2000. I just looked it up.
2000, and it has Mina Suvari, Jason Biggs. Mina Savari's character is somebody who is flamboyant. She's having a little affair with her professor, who's played by Greg Kinnear, and then Jason Biggs finds her, he's infatuated with her because, he has a long distance relationship with his girlfriend. His roommates hate him, but she winds opening up his world to the world of New York City and how to do things like that carefree. And then she shows him a night of doing things without having to pay for it. It just reminded me of that and how interesting that was. Yes, it is a rom-com, everybody, and Jayme will laugh because we had this conversation before. Yes, Mark likes rom-coms at times.
There is a Wilhelm Christmas episode where you learn about the softer side of Mark, if you are interested in that.
Yes, exactly. So this reminded me of that in the sense that Death was showing Sexton the better parts of life in levity, and him going, how are you getting away with all this? And it's just her personality that is so endearing within it. And I just love it because it's her being innocent and who she is, and yet she is Death.
Yeah, like she knows who she is and at the same time is learning about herself.
Yeah.
It's a weird juxtaposition, but it works really well.
It does. And then oddly enough, through that, with that taxi ride, Death brings Sexton to the same club that Sylvie is at.
Well, yeah, that she used to take him.
Yeah. And then Death gets the 411 about Sexton at that point within that time because they meet up with Amelia, and they also meet up with
Billy, the roommate, Amelia, Billy's girlfriend, and then Jackie, Amelia's friend.
Correct.
Who Sexton and Jackie are adorable.
Yes.
And so are Billy and Amelia. But
the bartender Theo knows him.
Yep, because of Sylvie. So
but they get the drinks, they do everything, but Theo has some sort of I don't know, what would you call it, affectation towards Death at this point because of the ankh.
Yeah, he notices the ankh right away
around Death's neck, and her necklace is an ankh, an Egyptian ankh, everybody. So just let you know.
And he notices it and takes note, like he knows exactly what it is, who she could be. Like, not just, oh, look at that looks cool. Like, he knows exactly what's going on.
Yeah. And he utilizes that to his own benefit in conjunction with what's going on with him and Theo, and then traps him in the back at one point.
Yeah. He offers a tour. He takes advantage of Dee Dee. I don't think we've called her Dee Dee yet.
Yeah.
Dee Dee's inquisitive nature. That's the
Dee Dee is Death, everybody. So.
Yeah. Her inquisitive nature.
Spoiler full.
If you've gotten this far,
you already know.
Yes. She introduced herself to Sexton as Dee Dee before she introduced herself as Death. But she, where was I? Sorry, I got distracted by that. Oh, so he takes advantage of her inquisitive nature to invite her to see, this was a department store before. Do you want to see how it was? And she's like, oh, absolutely. And they go to the back room. And I thought the back room was really interesting.
Really? It didn't seem interesting to me.
No, if you looked around, there was all kinds of interesting stuff. There was like Christmas ornaments and like bowling set, and like they really played up the like department store and stuff people would have left behind because it doesn't, like, all these little knick-knacky things and
Okay.
the stupid, like, at Walmart, those plastic, like, kind of see-through stockings that have like just garbage toys in them, like this, you know what I mean? Like, just absolute, but there's a lot of them. So
Yeah.
it looks cool and it makes kids excited. And yeah, it was interesting looking around, just seeing like the weird stuff that was in. I thought it was fun looking around in the background of that and seeing what was there. But while looking around the background, we find out that Theo has been trying to summon death
Yes.
because his girlfriend, I'm assuming, OD'd.
Yes, that's what I got out of it as well. And it was a way for him to coerce her to get her back.
And at first, you kind of sort of feel for the dude, like, oh, he lost his girlfriend, he wants her back. No, he just doesn't want to go to jail for her murder.
Yep.
He's just a jerk and a douchebag.
Yep. Yeah. And then there's this whole back and forth between them. He steals her vigil at a certain point.
Yeah, he steals the Ankh and he leaves them locked in the room. So then there's, a big heart-to-heart discussion about, the endless have duties and not free will. She's death, but she doesn't get to choose.
Yeah, I already have it listed here. Death talking about how they don't have any free will. They only have one day every 100 years to do what they want, to be human, enjoy themselves, and be free of their obligations. And then Theo wanted to bring someone back, which we already spoke about.
And then when it didn't work, he threw the Ankh in the Thames, which is a river, guys.
The River Thames.
Yep.
Or people would say Thames in America. It's called Thames. And then I love how Death tells him what had happened with his girlfriend. She tries to tell him it wasn't his fault. And then Theo tripping on the marbles was so perfect.
But I love that Sexton was like, oh, I have this idea. I know it'll work. This cartoon idea of the marbles. Which doesn't, and then it does.
Yeah.
But then he shoots Sexton because he starts to trip on the marbles.
Mm-hmm.
But he misses because Death is on her day off. That
is true. But Sexton gets the ambulance and then saving Theo regardless because it's all Death's day off. So I thought that was pretty cool and convenient. But the moment that Sexton realizes that he should live because he's already gotten somebody's number at that point, if you think about it. So in the morning, Death gets a new Ankh, but not really an Ankh. It's a new necklace.
She sees her Ankh
in this merchant's.
Yeah, and
the merchant has a various amount of jewelry that he has, and there's an Ankh there.
I'm assuming he does some kind of river fishing to get these.
Yes,
and sell them.
Mm-hmm. And he has some sort of necklace that has, I got one from my ex-girlfriend, oddly enough, her name was Jayme as well. But it's yeah, exactly. It holds pictures. It's
a locket.
A locket, there you go. So she winds up purchasing that.
Because she doesn't get it for free. And it was funny when Sexton's like, I'll just give it to her for free. You know you want to. And he's like, no. I'm not going to give it to her for free.
So she pays the £20.
Now she's left with only 2 pence.
Correct. So she winds up not taking the locket for herself, but giving it to Mad Hetty.
Well,
eventually,
yeah.
And then,
but she also gives the 2 pence to Sexton, saying, you never know when it'll come in handy.
And that we all know because with True Death and everything that is very classic medieval or anything is to put 2 coins over one's eyes, like
to pay the passage to the underworld or to the other side.
So that is what happens at the end with Death, because literally her 24 hours is over. So that would be in reference to her time on Earth for the 24 hours and her dying. within that
Yeah.
time. So he puts those on her eyes.
And Mad Hetty says, that's the cost of life, which 2 pence is not that much.
Mm-hmm. But it reinvigorated Sexton's life in a sense of living and pursuing it.
Yes.
So that was the whole point of the episode, is that Death, with her 124 hours of life every 100 years, or for this particular one, has affected somebody to continue to live and experience life, because there is only one life to live for them.
Yeah, and he deletes his suicide note.
Correct.
And he starts hanging out with Jackie, and they both take their tea or their coffee, I forgot what they were drinking, with 3 sugars, which was cute.
And biscuits, yeah.
Yes. Biscuits, which are cookies.
Yes, I know
that. I'm just not everybody watches as much Great British Bake Off as we do.
That is true.
Yeah, and like, you know, she made life better for one person, and that makes her happy. Well, 2 people. But Hetty's going to go back because Hetty says, "Oh, I'll hide it better next time." I should have asked her while I had her. I should have asked her where she wouldn't look. Like,
oh my god, it's because Mad Hetty is Mad Hetty. That's
I
how
liked
she
her
is.
first thing, and it's in the comic book, but the comic book is currently in the quarantine room because I didn't write it all down because I knew it was in the comic because it was word for word in the comic.
Yeah,
when
I know.
Dee Dee asks her, "Hey, where did you leave your soul?" And in the comic, it's a heart, not a soul, but
yeah,
same basic concept, not really that big a deal. Where did you leave it? She's like, mayhaps I left it inside an egg, inside a goose, inside a whatever, like in all the, inside a river, inside a cave, inside of this, and like all like this whole mystical thing.
Yeah.
And then Dee Dee's like, or perhaps not.
She is crazy, so we all know that.
Yeah, I thought it, but that was
it kind of leaves off where Death kind of passes on. Sexton gets a new life. Mad Hetty just continues on being Mad Hetty.
And then Death collects herself.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really, really sweet.
It was weird to see that scene because it's her collecting herself at that point, her dying and then her collecting herself and then going further.
Yeah, and like, take my hand.
Huh. So she has to die and collect herself at every given point, every 100 years. It's keeping herself in check. Kind of almost like Dream, because what if Dream dreamt?
Yeah. I mean, but doesn't he he created everything kind of in a dream? Let's not get too meta. It's too, no.
Yeah. You could go cross-eyed thinking about this stuff, everybody. So yeah, don't do it.
Yeah. I mean, despair despairs.
Yeah.
Desire. I don't know if desire desires or if they just inspire desire. Well, desire desired
Everything.
Dream to spill blood, to spill family blood, and got it.
That is true.
So.
And what about what was it? Chaos?
Delirium.
Oh yeah, not delirium. Apocalypse. Destruction. There you go. I'm thinking apocalypse.
Destruction.
Yeah, destruction creates more destruction, and you can go cross-eyed thinking about all this stuff. These are things to send to the creator, everybody. Yeah. Let him have fun with that one. Yeah, I think we discussed this episode. I thought overall it was a great episode to end it off. Very much how we had with the first season. At the very end, we got an extra episode. We had Calliope, and what was the other portion of it that I did enjoy, which was
Dream of a Thousand Cats.
Dream of a Thousand Cats. That one was very cool because it was mostly animated at that point.
Yes.
And I thought it was very interesting, but with this one, it was more real person-y kind of thing, more vibrant storytelling and more personable, I think. I think it was a great way for them to end it at this point because, unfortunately, you dreamers, we're not going to have any more Sandman Cast after this due to the fact that, they're not doing any more Sandman.
So sad.
It is so sad. But there'll be more. There was talks about more of Good Omens, oddly enough, continuing on.
Yeah, there's one more season, but I heard that they've narrowed that down to just one more episode, like long episode.
So it's a possibility. We'll come back for that for fun.
If you haven't watched Good Omens, go watch it. It's so good.
Yes, please do.
That's not a Panels to Pixels. That's a novel to
Podcastica.
Pixel. Yeah, that's a novel to Pixel. That's Podcastica.
But we will do
or
it for both.
Or is that TV podcast? No, that was TV Podcast Industries.
Oh, TV Podcast Industries did it as well, too. So they covered it as well. But we will be back with that if in the event it does. We did cover Good Omens. I'm forgetting if it was just alone on Podcastica or if it was on both at that point. I can't remember. It was so long ago.
It was so long ago. I love Good Omens. But before we go too much on a side tangent, do we have quotes or any other last thoughts?
I have quotes. I will let the listeners know that any needle drops that did happen, I'll have them collectively put in the podcast notes for you guys to look into, because I liked some of the stuff that was going on in the episode. I thought some of the music was pretty cool and ripe.
Yeah, I like the club was cool.
Yeah,
it was obviously Leather Night.
That it was. And for me, quotes, I have one: Death stating, "Sooner or later, I see everyone."
Yeah, she makes that thread a lot.
Yep, she does. Did you have any or no?
I have a few.
Okay.
So this one I think is very important for everyone to remember right now. It's no harder to be nice to people than it is to be awful, but it's much more fun. Like, there's a lot of really good quotes in this one.
Yeah.
Sometimes a person is all it takes to make you feel better about it all. Yep. Sometimes when you're having a crappy day, but one person being nice to you can turn things around. So once again, be a good person.
That was Amelia to at the club to death regarding people, as I recalled. I had that down too. Cool. Awesome.
And when Dee Dee's dying, like, it just goes so fast and you want to hang on to every second.
Yep.
And I feel that as my kids keep getting older faster, and
you start to feel the age.
Yeah,
and like you're getting older and they're just growing up so fast, and
they're growing up so fast. And I don't want them to stop growing. I love watching them grow. Like, I'm not like I hope they stay small forever. I don't. I love watching them grow, but I'm just trying to take in every moment of them as they are at this moment until we've moved on to the next. And like, along with that, when Death comes to collect herself, she's like, it always ends, and that's what gives it value.
Yeah.
And I just love that, like, the last thing said for this whole series was "take my hand." I think that's a perfect way to end it.
I that is perfectly perfect way to end it, I thought too. Awesome. Well, with that, we did put stuff out there for people to send in some feedback. We did get some feedback, everybody.
Yay!
And that was through our friend Lara, who I actually mentioned earlier. She and I covered the original Crow from 1994, 93, 94. I can't remember.
And she joined us last season, didn't she?
Yes, she did, for Sandman.
Yep.
So she sent some stuff in. She wasn't sure when we were recording. She sent this a little bit after we recorded our last episode, but I'm going to play it now. And you could hear her and her thoughts about, of all things, Mayfair Witches with our friend Billy with an IE on Adrenaline Cinema Podcast. Before we get into the Talamasca, and way before we get into the Lestat, Vampire Lestat show that will be on AMC Plus. Anyhow, this is what Lara has to say.
Hello there, Mark and Jayme. This is your friend and co-host, Lara, and I just am calling in, dropping a note on my feedback for Season 2 of The Sandman. I had a crazy summer, so I wish I could have followed along with you guys, but just recently finished the series, except for the bonus episode, which I'm hoping to see tonight. But here were some of my thoughts on season 2. Just going to quickly sum it up in the goods and the bads. And first off, the bads, but not really bad, because it's just like stuff that I missed and would have really have liked to have seen from the comic books. Number one, I did miss out on some things that were left out of the Game of You storyline. I guess people who watch the show wouldn't know this, but there was a great storyline in the comic books called The Game of You, and we missed out on that. Actually, I don't know if Netflix actually planned on just doing 2 seasons, because in season 1, in one of Barbie's dreams, they actually teased a Game of You, but then nothing
Agreed.
came of it. So I'm not sure, but kind of bummed that they cut out that whole storyline, especially because of one character in particular that I will mention later. Number 2, I was also bummed out that in Seasons of Mist, we didn't get to see Ramiel and Duma, the 2 angels sent from the creator to eventually assume the keys to hell. We didn't get to see them take over hell. That was really interesting. I liked how they kind of reposition the way that souls are tortured in hell, and I thought that was kind of interesting. We miss out on that. We also miss out on a very cool kind of synopsis of, or it would be like an epilogue of Lucifer and Mazikeen running a nightclub on Earth. Well, I guess maybe the show Lucifer takes on that storyline, but I never watched that show, so I wouldn't know. My number 3 kind of bad, I guess, would be Destruction. I was really looking forward to seeing the prodigal, and my reaction to him was kind of meh. Because in the comic books, he's pictured as this huge kind of Viking man or giant soldier. I really didn't feel like this nicely groomed Patagonia model was a great representation of Destruction. I actually thought that
agreed.
Christopher Hivju, who played Tormund Giantsbane from Game of Thrones, would have been a much better choice. But, can't win them all. My biggest sad bad, though, was the omission of the character of Thessaly the Witch. She was the one who was introduced in A Game of You. Her character just doesn't make an appearance at all in the show. And even though her character was pretty much integral to just the Game of You storyline, she does reappear in the Kindly Ones, and they gave her part in the Kindly Ones to Mad Hattie, which didn't make sense to me because Mad Hattie is such a minor character in the comic books. And in the Sandman comic books, not only is she a very powerful witch from ancient Greece, so therefore she has magical powers where she would be able to cast a sacred circle around Hippolyta, but she also is familiar with the fates. So that made sense. And also, she is one of Sandman's lovers, and she's the one that he's mooning over when all the dreaming is storming and raining, and he wants to go off into the waking world to find her. It's not Nada that he's after in the comic books, it's Thessaly. So I really would have liked to see her. She's kind of a badass character. I have a bit of a love-hate relationship for her, and I'm really sad that she didn't get to appear in the show. But now on to my goods. First of all, the family dinner on the very first episode, top-notch. Dialogue came verbatim from the comic books. Costumes looked identical to the comic books. I don't feel like everything needs to be just like the comic books, but I thought that they did it so well and it translated to the screen so well that it just gave me all the thrills. Number 2, the adaptation of Seasons of Mist story arc. This is in my opinion, is the best story arc in the entire comic books. I felt like they were like 80% faithful to the comics, and I thought it was thrilling and chaotic that we get to see a dinner party full of the legions of otherworldly characters. But Jayme, you were right, me too. I really missed out on seeing Bast, and she was mentioned in A Tale of a Thousand Cats, so why couldn't they give us, a little bit of a nod to the cat goddess? My number 3 good was the introduction of Delirium. The actress Esme Creed Miles perfectly portrays the youngest of the Endless. When I first saw her, I wasn't really feeling it, but as she goes on in the series, and she goes on her little road trip with Dream, she really began to feel like the comic book Delirium to me, and by the end, I absolutely loved her. And even though we didn't get a Game of You story arc, we got the character of Wanda, which was a great retrofit. She filled the role of a minor character named Rosie. I'm glad we got her because I think her story is probably considered one of the best transgender representations in a novel, and she was just such a great character, and the whole scene of her funeral and everything, it just really was very impactful in the comic books. I'm glad they put it in the show and found a way to get it in the show. Number 5, I'm glad we got some brand new characters of Time and Night who are the parents of Morpheus. I don't think they were ever in the comic books, so I think they're a show creation, but I really felt that they should be renamed Cruelty and Apathy for the way they treated their children. Number 6, Morpheus and his reconciliation with his son Orpheus. When I read this in the 90s, I was amazed at how Gaiman wove these disparate tales of Greek mythology, French Revolution, and the death of a god, but it really, really worked. Tom Sturridge gave a very emotional side to Dream, because in the books he's a lot more stoic. He doesn't show emotions hardly at all. And I thought Tom Sturridge just filled Dream with more emotion and humanity than he had in the books. I also, number 7, really loved the addition of the Corinthian and Johanna Constantine as partners in finding Loki and Puck. It's different in the comics. Corinthian actually goes off with Matthew into the waking world to find the baby, and I really like these two. I love their dynamic. They're so edgy and cool, and I really want to just see a spin-off show.
That
would be
Please,
amazing.
please, Netflix, if you can't give us Sandman, give us the Corinthian and Johanna. That would be wonderful. And my great is the final goodbye to Morpheus and the denizens of the Dreaming. In his final goodbye to his beloved sister, she takes his life in the lightest of touches. It's so heartbreaking to look back at the episode in the very beginning where Lucian is glowing as she watches Dream rebuilding the Dreaming, and then here at the very end he's lost his passion for creation. He's lost his son, and he's ready to call it a day, and his sister takes him so gently, and I love that she gives it to the Fates too, because they were being so annoying. I'm so glad she put them in their place. And one extra great, at the very end of the last 2 episodes, are you kidding me? Jacob frickin' Anderson, my sweet, sweet Louis de Pontelac as the Dream Lord. Oh, okay, Netflix, if you wanted me on board for Daniel, you just got me. I love this actor, and I swear it seemed like they superimposed Tom's voice over his when they first introduced him. The more that he was on screen, it became more of Jacob's voice than Tom's voice. Did you guys notice that? Oh, that was so good. Anyhow, I really, really loved this season. I loved the series as a whole. If we don't get any more seasons, I'm just glad we got what we got. I've been waiting forever for Sandman to come to screen, and I thought they really did a great job of it. Thank you, Mark and Jayme, for covering this. You guys did an excellent job, and I may not be able to get feedback in time for High Cost of Living, but I'm so excited to hear what you guys think of it, because Death is my favorite book comic character of all time. All right.
Bye, Laura.
Thanks, you guys.
Thanks,
and
Laura. We love you.
Take care. See you in
And we
That
Dreaming.
was
missed you.
perfect.
She would have been perfect, obviously.
When we were able to get her last season, she was such a great co-host.
Oh, yeah. And she always is a great co-host, even when we do the Vamp Cast. When we did Interview with the Vampire, when we talked about the Mayfair Witches first part, and now they're her and Billy did the second part, which you guys will be privy to soon with Adrenaline Cinema podcast of their thoughts of season 2. And then when we get into the Telemasca, as well as with the Vampire Lestat when that comes out on AMC Plus for Adrenaline Cinema podcast with the Vampcast. I'll talk to Jason, see if we could actually do that as a collaborative again, because we did that last year as well. And I knew that Jacob Anderson was going to be her go-to at the very end because he did play Louis in the Interview with the Vampire. And I thought the same thing. I was like, oh my God. It was amazing. And I knew right away Lara would be like, yes. And I know Billy would like, oh, yes. He's so pretty. So, yeah, it was. And thank you, Lara, for sending that in. That was amazing.
That
and
was
you
so
are
great.
missed. You are missed here.
And what I like is, like, she and I obviously have a big soft spot in our hearts for the comics. Might actually be our favorite comics ever. Favorite, but there was a lot of hate for season 2 online.
Oh, there
and
was.
I don't think, and I don't think it deserved. Yes, it felt a little rushed, and yes, we'd lost a few things that some people were looking forward to from the comics. But overall, I thought they did it justice. I thought they did a great job. Like I'm not disappointed. If this is the only screen adaptation that we ever get, I'm not mad at it at the slightest. Minor details here and there, but I thought it was beautiful. I thought it really held up to the source material, and I'm happy we got it. I didn't think it was something that was ever going to be able to be done. So I'm really, really happy with it.
I really did enjoy it. For those who were like me and mostly watched the Netflix show itself, there is the comic book adaptation. Like Jayme had stated, you get it in trade paperback in sections. You get the compendiums, like I stated. If you can't afford $150 just for the full, like for volume 1 and volume 2 of the compendiums, you could easily just get them in increments.
And there also is an audio drama that Audible did, which is very good.
Yes.
It's full cast audio drama. It's
celebrity cast.
Celebrity cast, yeah. It's excellent. They were offering it for free for a while too. So
yes. You can find that on Amazon as well. So do the audio version or the Audible version. I highly recommend it. David Tennant is in it, and a variety of other,
there's I forget. It's been a minute since I've listened to it. There's a ton of excellent actors.
Yeah, so you guys could check that out. You could continue your Sandman
experience.
Yeah, I was gonna say obsession, but okay.
For me, it's an obsession, but
it's fun. But also for those of you who are comic book fans, to do the reflective of the DC stuff in comparison to what we got on the visual, that's interesting as well. Have fun with that. I was never a huge DC fan, but I did enjoy from what I saw of the little snippets and everything, especially what Jayme, when she brought that up about the comics when I was reading within the first season, going, oh my God, there's Batman, there's this. I was like, what? Arkham? What was Arkham doing in here?
Yeah.
And stuff
Sandman
like that.
definitely takes place in Gotham.
Yeah. And the universe of DC at one point. But yeah, and then they also continued it too within the what was it, 2010, 2015? That they started doing more Sandman stuff. There was
they did a prequels and Nocturnes.
Yes, I have those as well.
They're gorgeous. They're so pretty.
The visualization, the artwork
in them. If you don't want to read, just look at the pictures.
That's all you have to do.
Stunning.
Yeah.
The Preludes and Nocturnes is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was reading that on a plane, and I had people being like, "Stop!" Like, ask me, like, "What is that? That's so cool!" Like,
What are you reading? Is
yeah,
that pornographic? No, it's
no,
not.
no. It was just people impressed with how pretty and how unique it looks. Like, it
Oh,
doesn't look like
yeah.
anything else.
All right. Well, that does cover our last episode of Sandman Cast right now, for now, depending on if we do come back for something else that is gaming related or something similar. But for now, where can listeners hear us, Jayme? Where could they hear you other than where you heard here?
I am, speaking of Great British Bake Off or the Great British Baking Show, depending on which way, how you're watching it. But I am guest hosting with Wendy and Greg when they can fit me in about the Great British Bake Off. I did episode 1 and then season 13, and then we're going to be doing episode 3. I could not work out episode 2 because my child got a bad skin infection and had to go to urgent care.
Oh, yeah. And that can be found on Podcast, everybody.
Yeah, right now it's on the House Podcastica, but
Yep.
I think Jason's moving it to its own little corner.
He has an opportunity to actually do that as well. You'd also be heard on Panels to Pixels podcast when we continue our coverage and finalize our coverage of Invincible. When we finally
very soon,
get to
now that we're done with Sandman.
Yeah, I really wanted to hold off to that because we had so much, and I have so much to podcast about, everybody. And then eventually, when the Crystal Lake show shows on, depending on where you want to go, Podcastica or Adrenaline Cinema Podcast, we'll figure that one out at that point because we also have more Friday the 13th to talk about for Adrenaline Cinema Podcast. We have to do.
And I'm not holding my breath. I know it seems like it's going to happen, but I am not until we have an air date. And maybe not even until 3 days before will I be convinced that this is going to happen.
we could still do our coverage of the actual movie. So
yes, the movies that exist.
We still have to do movie part 6 and on. So we still have a lot more to go. So we could always interweave those for Adrenaline Cinema Podcast for you adrenal heads that are out there. And then on top of that, well, where else can you listeners hear me? Obviously, you could hear me on Panels to Pixels podcast, where some of you are hearing it here, as well as the podcast listeners that are hearing here as well. But we are covering Peacemaker. That's found on HBO Max. Steve Brown and I are covering that. But as we're in the middle of it, guess what happens? Gen V shows up. So we'll be covering Gen V Season 2. So we're covering all 3 episodes in one particular podcast, so that way it would be continuous. But a week after that, guess what happens? Marvel Zombies, everybody. Marvel Zombies.
I'm so excited about Marvel Zombies.
So you are more than welcome to jump on and have fun with that game. I love the idea. Apparently there is not that many episodes, but even still, the fact that we get some of the work that came out in the early 2000s, late 90s of Marvel Zombies is coming to fruition. There's cursing, there's bloodshed. It's all animated. It's great. It's just as good as Invincible is, because Invincible, as in its own animation, Disney Plus is doing that with Marvel Zombies. So you could check that out when we cover that as well. So keep posted. Just check out our Facebook page, as well as you could also hear me on the Pirate Core Entertainment podcast when I do the music podcast as well. We have an interview coming out with our friend Adam Gonzalez, who's an independent filmmaker, and his talk and his crew and his cast of The Raven, which was a 15-minute short. And we were trying to provide him some sort of backing, and that way he could crowdfund a full-length feature film. So check out that when that happens. It'll probably be on video for Spotify, as well as audio on Spotify, as well as on YouTube, and just the same. And that will be found on the Pirate Core Entertainment podcast. So you can check that out there. For that pretty much wraps up everything that we have. So Jayme, how could they reach us?
I guess we're not done
feedback.
with Yeah. I mean, if you want to leave feedback, we'll find a way to throw it in somewhere.
Yeah.
But we're not going to have any more Sandman podcasts. You can go to the Facebook group, facebook.com/panels2pixels. You can go to piratecoreentertainment.com.
Yep.
And you can go to podcastica.com.
Yep. piratecoreentertainment.com actually is fully functioning. We have links for Adrenaline Cinema Podcast as well as Panels to Pixels Podcast. And after this week, by the time you listen to this, guess what? You'll have a Pirate Core Entertainment link on there as well as our friend, which I didn't mention. Our friend Becky Anderson does What's On Tonight. So there'll be links for What's On Tonight podcast where I actually did cover Dexter Resurrection with her. And we had a slew of a lot of guests on that one in the last episode. We had everybody on, and it was fun to do. Penny, Steve, myself, and Kelsey, as well as Becky, who is leading the way. And she was very uncertain about doing that herself. And I don't know why, because I told her, you don't need me. And people were there always every week. And I'm like, why am I here? Why am I here? You're more than capable of doing this. Anyhow, with that, check that out. Just go to the piratecoreentertainment.com website and go to podcastica.com as well to check out all the other podcasts that Jason has there.
And there are a ton of them.
There are a ton of them. There's the whole thing about Daryl Dixon that's going on, which is the Walking Dead cast.
I know. I just realized that was back when the podcast showed up in my feed. I'm like, oh, I didn't know the show was back.
It's back, and I have to catch up now. I was like, oh my God.
Me too.
It's like, oh, I have to smash the kid behind me and say, catch up. Anyhow, bad joke. Anyhow, and then you have Wex episodic, which is about Alien Earth. They're putting stuff about there for the TV show Alien Earth. You have Welcome to the Apocalypse with Randy and everybody else. Apparently they came back at one point. So I'm looking forward to, I have to play catch up with everything. Like when it comes to podcasts and listen to my friends, it's so sad. I'm like too busy creating myself that I can't even get a chance to listen to my friends, man.
Not fun, man.
Not fun, man. They're animals. I'm just kidding. But yeah, check that out. Just go to podcastica.com. Check out all the links. Everybody else. Buffyverse podcast is amazing. Still Slaying is amazing with Penny and Kara. And they're going into out of the season that I really kind of zoned out on, honestly. Buffy in college was terrible. In my opinion, there was like maybe 5 episodes that I loved completely, and then the rest were just meh. And then as soon as they got out of that season, it got really good again, and it really dragged me in completely. So check them out. Still Slaying, a Buffyverse podcast. Check them out. And they actually did Bring It On and a couple other movies that are in there too. So check that out. But other than that, like I said, to send feedback for Panels to Pixels podcast, all you have to go, like Jayme had said, facebook.com/Panels to Pixels. What's on Facebook is on Instagram. Panels to Pixels podcast on YouTube. You could send feedback that way, or you could just email us at panels2pixels1@gmail.com. And that's panels, 2 is spelled EO, and then pixels and the number 1@gmail.com. And you can record yourself and send it as an attachment, and we'll play it, or just write out your thoughts and then we'll speak it the next time we're on. I'll do it on Panels to the Pixels podcast as well, and then still keep promoting what's going on with the podcast brand. So that way you guys get a chance to hear yourself or hear what you had to say, or have everybody else say or hear what you had to say. So this was our last episode for Sandman Cast, and we just want to thank everyone for listening.
Thank you so much. It's been so much fun.
Yeah, it has.
And thank you, Mark, for doing all of the hard work on the podcast.
Wait, what's hard work?
I just talk. You do all the uploading, editing, all of that stuff. I'm a passenger princess here.
All right. Well, pleasant dreams or unpleasant nightmares, everyone, and take care. For you panelers, same podcast, different panel, different pixel. This was Panels to Pixels podcast, and we'll see you on the next panel. Goodbye, everybody.
Take my hand.